All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are going to unlock a powerful method, something backed by some pretty solid neuroscience that can literally multiply your learning speed. And here's the secret. It's not about studying longer. It's all about starting smarter. Let's get into it. You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You sit down, you're ready to learn something new, and it just feels like your brain is stuck in mud. You feel slow, you can't focus, and nothing seems to stick. But what if I told you that struggle has nothing to do with your actual ability and everything to do with your approach? Specifically, what you do in the first 5 minutes. For ages, we've been told to warm up our brains. Ease into it with some light reading or a gentle review. But it turns out the science tells a completely different story. The reality is, our brains are wired to respond to a short, high-intensity burst right from the get-go. That slow warm-up? It's a myth. The real key to high-speed learning is a 5-minute microburst. That's it. Seriously, just 300 seconds. Researchers have pinpointed this 5-minute window at the beginning of any learning session as the most critical time for your brain. This isn't just a friendly suggestion, it's a hardwired biological threshold that basically sets the stage for how well you're going to remember everything that comes after. So what's the secret sauce here? Well, it's a process called synaptic priming. The easiest way to think about it is like you're sending a memo to your entire brain's network that says, hey, get ready, something important is coming down the pipeline and you need to save it. It's the neurochemical kickstart that shifts your brain from just idling to being totally ready to learn. So how does this priming actually work on a biological level? Well, the whole process is triggered by a flood of a really important growth factor in the brain, often called BDNF. You can think of it as the master architect of change inside your head. And neuroscientists have this awesome analogy for it. They call it brain fertilizer. And that's perfect, because it doesn't just help your brain cells talk to each other, it actually helps them grow, survive, and build much stronger, more permanent connections. So once this fertilizer is released, it activates this little crew of construction proteins, and these guys get straight to work, physically building and stabilizing new connections between your neurons. This is literally how a new idea goes from being just a temporary electrical signal to becoming a physical part of your long-term memory. Now here's the best part. This isn't just some random thing that happens. We can actually trigger this entire cascade whenever we want. So how do we do it? Well, it all comes down to a really simple, actionable protocol. Okay, here's your game plan. It's called the 5-minute micro-challenge protocol. Think of me as your coach here. We've got 3 simple but very distinct phases. First, a quick physical spike. Second, a period of what we'll call cognitive friction. And third, and this is crucial, a short phase of deliberate rest. Phase 1 is the trigger. For about 60 to 90 seconds, you're going to do some kind of maximum intensity physical exercise. I'm talking sprints, burpees, jumping jacks as fast as you can. This causes a huge surge of adrenaline and norepinephrine, which basically act like a highlighter pen, marking the brain circuits you're about to use as top priority. You're literally telling your brain, pay attention, this matters. Okay, immediately after that physical burst, you pivot straight into a tough mental task for about 4 minutes. And the key phrase here is intentional frustration. You need to be working on problems that are just a little bit beyond your current skill level. That cognitive struggle is what forces your brain to fire up new pathways, essentially building stronger connections because it has to. So you've spiked your system, you've strained your mind. The logical next step would be to just keep pushing, right? Keep grinding. Wrong. The science shows the exact opposite. These final 2 minutes of the protocol, this is where the real magic actually happens. During this final phase, you do nothing. For 2 minutes, you embrace total, deliberate boredom. This quiet stillness activates what's called the glymphatic system. It's basically your brain's dedicated cleaning crew. It pushes cerebral spinal fluid through your brain tissue, flushing out all of the metabolic junk that builds up during intense focus. So let's be super clear. This rest isn't passive. It's a very active housekeeping process that prevents something scientists call synaptic stalling. That's when your brain just gets clogged with mental debris. This cleaning process is what allows those brand new connections you just built to stabilize and actually lock into your long-term memory. Now, to really make this work, you have to avoid a few common mistakes. First, don't go longer than 5 minutes. More is not better here. It just leads to burnout. Second, do not, I repeat, do not skip the rest period. It's non-negotiable. And surprisingly, your environment is a big deal. Don't do this in a warm room. And here's a pro tip for you. That brain cleaning process, the glymphatic system, it works way more efficiently in a cooler environment.
The sweet spot is somewhere between 18 and 20 degrees Celsius. There's about 64 to 68 Fahrenheit. Just cracking a window or turning down the thermostat can make a huge difference in your cognitive recovery. Now look, this isn't just a one-time party trick. The real power here comes from turning this 5-minute protocol into a daily micro-habit. Because when you do this consistently, day after day, the effects start to compound like crazy. Over time, you are literally upgrading your brain's hardware. Repeatedly triggering this process leads to more insulation around your neural wires and a higher density of connection points. Your neural pathways physically become wider, faster, and more efficient. It's like upgrading a bumpy country lane into a 6-lane superhighway. I mean, just look at this data. For most people, it takes about 20 minutes of work before they get into that deep, focus flow state. But when you make this micro-challenge a habit, you can slash that time to less than 5 minutes. That is a massive increase in your efficiency at getting into your peak performance state. And of course, technology is catching up and making this even more precise. You've got wearables now that can track your brain waves to tell you if you're in that optimal learning state. AI tutors can adjust the difficulty of your problems on the fly to keep you in that perfect frustration zone. We're even seeing generative AI being used to clean up the noise from brain signals to give you hyper-accurate feedback. So if you walk away with just one thing from all of this, let it be this. The speed at which you learn has very little to do with the total hours you put in. It's almost entirely determined by the focused, deliberate intensity you bring to the first 300 seconds of the work. The science is crystal clear. The protocol is incredibly simple. You have the power to physically rewire your brain's architecture and multiply your learning speed, and it only takes 5 minutes a day. The only question left is, are you ready to pick up the tools and start building?